All right, we are live and recording, I think. Um, Welcome to the real episode 1 of the RadJunk Podcast. We had tried to record something before that we technically called episode 0. The audio was jacked because I had messed up a setting. My name's Joe Alonzo. I own RadJunk, Rad Bar, and Really Rad Weekend. I'm here to just blab on for an hour about some video game stuff and things going on in my life and just whatever. This is just a way for me to convey some retro game stuff and just what I want to say on a somewhat regular basis. It is August 31st. I almost said 11th because I'm blind. And we're in the game room at my house. It's not much, as you can see behind me. Today I worked all day at the shop because Molly, our manager, is on vacation. Sam's working at the bar, and my son's asleep. So we're going to take this time to record something. Plus, I have Starfield preloading, so I'm going to go ahead and check that out too once I'm done with this. So yeah, I want to apologize for episode 1. So I was trying to get everything going. I'm going to open up the Twitch management tab over here because I think I'm live streaming as well, but I'm not exactly sure. So we were recording episode 0 on my MacBook, and I had my soundboard and everything else hooked up. And for whatever reason, I changed some setting, and all of the audio was captured via my MacBook's internal microphone and not my actual microphone. So I panicked. I bought new equipment, everything. I got it hooked up, and then realized that the setting was the problem. So here we are. Hopefully this sounds good. We're recording locally, and we are trying to stream to Twitch. Let's see. I just want to make sure that I have Twitch muted, so we might hear something. Let's see. Might hear a little noise come through. I'm not exactly sure. If you're watching the live version, you're watching me type this terribly. So I'm running multiple monitors, and it's really annoying. Oh, yeah, there we go. Mute site. There we are. Excellent. That should be good now. It's going to two-factor auth us. Enter the SMS code. Basically, I just want to get all of this running so we can see chat in some regard in case we want to take some questions or whatever. I haven't streamed in a really long time. So I don't know if anybody's actually going to watch this. However, like I said, we're recording a podcast that will be uploaded to iTunes and Google Podcasts and Spotify, I believe, if their podcast service is still available. And then also, we will probably upload this entire thing to YouTube, which our YouTube channel finally hit 1,000 subs. I know that's nothing for most people, but after years of like messing with it and just deciding that we finally wanted to make it happen, we did, which is cool. Let's see. Video producer. I don't even know if we're actually live right now. We might be? I don't know. I don't know how to check this anymore. It's been so long since I've used Twitch. Here we go. All right, let's see. I think we got it. Evening, Joe. Hey, how you doing? So, like I said, we're recording, whatever. All right, back on track. Let's pull up the show notes, because I actually made show notes, which is funny, because I don't ever do anything correctly. Got these over in Notion. Notion is a kind of like a collaborative note app that I'm using right now, just because everything else just isn't good. All right, so yeah, let's get back to it. So I worked the shop all day today. Got up late. I kind of forgot that Molly was on vacation. I got there as fast as I could. We opened at noon. And it started out looking like it was going to be a really slow day. We had some good trades to picture and whatnot. We had all these Blaze Blue games that we got on PS3, some collector's editions and whatnot, and then some solid NES titles. like DuckTales, Zelda, all the staple games that everybody wants that are, the mid-range stuff. However, it ended up not being slow. So right off the rip, some people bought a Wii and some games and whatever. And then from there, it was just pretty much pedal to the metal all day. Got one little break in there where I snuck some food in. And no trade-ins today, which is interesting. However, I did purchase some stuff that should be pictured tomorrow. This is the time of year where a lot of people are selling their collections, and then you'll see people buying more around the holiday times. That's just typical of the market and how it goes. So it was actually a nice little break not to have to like do anything crazy. But I'm trying to think of some things that were at the shop that were interesting while I was like cleaning up and pricing. Did you guys know that Sonic Battle on the GBA is like super expensive complete? For like $250 if it's got the poster and the manual and the cart and everything. That like blew my mind. That's a game that I didn't even know about. I'm not a Sonic fan. I know a lot of people are. But it could be cool, I guess. But that's surprising. Another thing that I noticed at the shop today, we have a copy of Lord of the Rings, which I think it says Volume 1 on it, which is interesting, on the Super Nintendo. And I always knew that game could utilize the mouse. However, it can also utilize the Super Nintendo multi-tap. So you can have up to 5 players in your party playing all at once. And that's wild. I don't think you can hook up 5 mice, though, but since the mouse only works with controller port 1. That's just something really odd that I thought was cool that you don't see a whole lot is games that can utilize multiple Super Nintendo peripherals. So it's another cool thing. Other than that, I've got a bunch of Game Boy repairs that I need to do. It's just been so hot in my garage, which is where I work on handhelds. I haven't been able to get to them, but it's starting to cool off just a little bit. I'll probably get in there this weekend later on at night and try to knock some of those out. So we'll have a restock of GBAs, DMGs, PSPs, Vitas, stuff like that, Game Boy Colors. It has been so hot, and then like getting out the soldering iron and trying to do everything is really frustrating sometimes. At the bar, all of our new beer was delayed by the storm in South Florida because a lot of our distributors come from Central and South Florida. That's where their warehouses are. Then they drive up. And speaking of the storm, we want to give a shout out to our buddy Frank Wood from Premium Edition and Super RPG Friends on Twitch. Their house flooded. They got a lot of storm surge, and we're trying to figure out a way to get some money over to Frank to help him out and get back on his feet because a lot of his belongings were damaged, a lot of his games and things like that. So even though the storm didn't affect a whole lot of people, there are still people affected and people that we even know. So it's, another one of those hurricane seasons in Florida. What else have I been doing? I've been shooting a lot of YouTube shorts that we've been uploading. Like I mentioned earlier, our YouTube channel's finally at 1,000 subs, which is cool. And hopefully it can grow from there. Less from a monetization standpoint, but more so because we just like to put out content. We like people to watch it because a lot of interesting things happen between the shop, the bar, and the convention, and then just, here. So if you're on YouTube, youtube.com/RadJunk, we're RadJunk everywhere, which, we try to put out some stuff as much as we can. I've been trying to arrange this room so it's more conducive to recording and streaming again, so we can get the girls in here to do Drunk Girl Gaming and then our normal stream. I've really missed doing the Sunday show, and I really want to bring it back. I don't know if we'll be able to do it on Sundays, but we'll find a day to do it and then try to work everything in to where it's cohesive and consistent again so we can keep recording. And it'll probably happen in this room. We were doing some of them at the bar and then also the shop, but since we moved into this house in December, we've kind of been trying to get this place situated so it's the ideal like streaming location, and we can just easily grab a game off the shelf and throw it in and start playing it from there. Yeah, Drunk Girl Gaming is the best. It's wild because, you know, the girls have a really good banter and whatnot. But yeah, so trying to get all this behind me arranged is a real pain because we have we don't have a lot of stuff anymore in our personal collection, but like comparatively to the shelves that we have, it is a lot of stuff. So everything kind of fits awkwardly and not in a great way to make it feel complete or correct. So we might add some more shelving. I've been getting the analog consoles and what all that stuff, so it'll be easy to hook up via HDMI, and you know, it plays the games, it does the job. But a lot of consoles on tap. I've got a dedicated streaming computer that I'm gonna hook up. That was another thing that actually delayed the podcast coming back. Is I had to build a new PC a couple months ago, and now that that's done, everything's a lot better. It's been rough. This entire year's been rough, but we're getting there. So that's cool. What else did we do this week? Man, it's Thursday, and I don't even know what we did. Like I said, Molly's on vacation, so been working the shop. That's always fun. I actually really like doing it. I know, you know, it's a job. Another thing is so much demand for Super Bomberman today, and I don't know why. Like, what happened to where Super Bomberman is like a popular requested title? Like, it's a great game, and I love it, and I love Bomberman. But my God, today was like 3 copies, which is wild. You know, Pokemon's as popular as ever as well. So much Pokemon today, which is cool. It's like a game store staple. It's not even worth mentioning at this point. But what else? Man. So I'm trying to like arrange this podcast in a way where I can talk about some stuff that's been going on. I'm downloading Starfield. Like I said, the only other thing I've been playing is something I've actually been playing for months, and it's Luck Be a Landlord. It's like an 8-bit roguelike slot machine game. I've been playing it on my Steam Deck a lot. However, it's also on mobile. So if you like roguelikes and easy games, that's there. I saw me on Retro Rick the other day. Yeah, so Rick's a buddy of mine. For those that don't know, Retro Rick is a YouTuber who owns a game store now, and you know, he's your typical, not typical, he's my friend. But he goes around and finds deals and all that stuff, the game hunting. And he vacations here once a year, and he's always been stopping in. We met him like 10 years ago at Retropalooza before he was a YouTuber and became friends. And, you know, now his YouTube channel's blown up and he's well known in the space. And he came probably 3 months ago now, and the video went up, I don't know, maybe a month ago at this point, a few weeks ago. And we're going around the shop, and I have a Star Fox Standee that is, I've never seen another one, and it's SNES era Star Fox. It's probably about 4 feet tall in total. It's got the characters that kind of stand up, and it's, you know, cardboard, it lights up, all this stuff, but never seen another one. Potentially, I don't want to say this, but with as many that I haven't seen, it might be the only one left. I've heard that they were at grocery stores, but I never saw one there, and the only picture I can find looks like some sort of like World of Nintendo event. So he came in, and I know my buddy from Pixel Game Squad, Riff, he really wanted it, and then we kind of trolled him because I let Rick borrow it. So in Conway, Arkansas, where his store is, it's very popular for people from that town to vacation where our store is. So he took the standee back to his store and is going to put it on display and say it's on loan from RadJunk. Go see them. That way he's got a cool display. It's not just hiding in a closet in the shop anymore. And, you know, it does some advertising. And I'm missing 1 or 2 pieces from it. And hopefully someone from his following can find those pieces and acquire them. And I can acquire them. And then we can have a completed standee. which would be really cool because that's what I care about. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it should be pretty cool. Hopefully, we'll see. So, that video is out there. The last video we did, Molly and I did a $20 and under like challenge, more or less, where we went around the store and we found games that were $20 or under, and you know, basically picked the games for each console that we would choose if we had $20 per game or less to spend within the store. We ended up throwing together a bunch of games, and the video was good, but like that, doing it, like shooting it and actually doing the challenge, that was the most fun because it's actually challenging on some systems, but on some systems you start to realize like, oh, this is a no-brainer. This game that's $15 is amazing, and I can't believe it's only $15. So that was fun. You can go check that out on our YouTube channel, and it's that's a good one. So let's see. Saturday is trade night. Molly's out of town, so we're gonna be doing it old school. Sam and I are gonna be running it ourselves. I forgot that I ran like a promoted ad for trade night that wasn't supposed to line up with this one. It was supposed to line up with the next one. And so now I think this one's going to be fairly busy. And of course, we're short staffed at this point, but it's fine. We will live. We will survive. It will be a good trade night. Hopefully it's not too hot. So the heat has been brutal at the shop. Just because it's an old building, insulation is terrible. The AC unit isn't quite big enough to do its job, but we've got fans going and we're still sweating because it's been like 100 degrees here. So I talked to the landlord today, and we're working on an AC solution. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So trade night is the first Saturday of every month, typically, unless I'm out of town or we have an event going on like Really Rad Weekend. So we've been doing that since literally before we opened. That's kind of what we based everything on, because my friend Dave kind of started his store in Navarre and then he moved and we needed a place to go. So trade night is our monthly event where it's like a video game swap meet that we host in the store. So we allow other people to set up and sell and trade their own games. And it's like everybody has their own little spot and vendor booth. Much like a convention, but it's more like flea market style. So it's very casual, and it used to be our excuse to just hang out, trade some games, but really talk about games and, drink a couple of beers with the guys. So what we do now is we started at about 6:00 and go till about 9. And then anybody that participates in trade night gets a wristband to go to the bar for free. And then we head over there and hang out. And that kind of like brings business over there, but also it moves everybody away. So we're not stuck in the shop until, midnight or whenever, which, we've been there a lot, really late, many times. And it's, yeah. Whew. So let's see. I'm trying to think of what else is going on. I think outside of that, Really Rad Weekend's approaching very quickly. So, Really Rad Weekend is our yearly convention. We're more of like the anti-con, right? Where I fly in a bunch of people that I know or acquaintances or friends of friends that are bigger in the community to do panels and whatnot. So we're the anti-con because we're a little more lax and we're a little less formal and just, laid back, because what Really Rad Weekend actually is a beach vacation for everyone. Much like you, B-Ferg, in your second week of October in the Twitch chat. So it's November 11th and 12th this year. It's at the Island Resort on Okaloosa Island, formerly the Ramada, for those of you that remember that. And we take it over. We fly some people in to do some panels. We have a vendor hall. We have a lot of tournaments. We have cosplay going on. We even have a cosplay pool party this year that we just announced. which is going to be wild because they have a heated pool and then this crazy giant pool with like a rock formation and all this stuff. So that's Really Rad Weekend. And the best part about Really Rad Weekend is we give all of the money to charity. So we give it all away. This year everything benefits Fresh Start for Children and Families, which is a local charity run by my friend Donna, who we used to work with ECC, and then Really Rad Weekend. And so on the second week of November, I believe, or maybe third week this year, but it's November 11th and 12th, and it's Veterans Day weekend. And so we did it last year. Turnout was a little bit smaller, but we had a great time. The guests had a great time, and that's what really matters, because I want them to keep coming back. And this year it looks like it's going to be a lot bigger. There's a lot of people talking about it. It's really cool. Last year we had a retro game museum that you could kind of walk through in the console room. The Dave, a friend of ours, he brought out a bunch of his consoles, and we supplemented with mine. And it was funny because it was actually the anniversary of the home video game console that weekend. So we were able to like give everybody a little bit of an experience as they came through to play some games. And so we're doing all that again this year. And you can get your tickets now at reallyradweekend.com. We got some early bird specials running, which is cool, and we got hotel rates. But basically, it's a reason for us all to party for a weekend. It's like kind of a vacation, even though it's work. And then if we back it up just a little bit, before that, September 16th and 17th, the RadJunk team and myself will be in Dallas, Texas, technically Arlington, for Retropalooza X. It's the 10th year. We've been going for years. We love Retropalooza. We're going to drive out there and set up a mini version of the store on their vendor hall. We're going to take the disc resurfacer to offer that service. I'm going to be soldering batteries for people. We'll be slinging some vinyl and then also some games, and that'll be good. We're hosting a pre-party there. That is the pre-convention trade night. That is Friday night of Retropalooza at the Sheraton, I believe. I'll have to double check the actual location. Jay just kind of gave it to me and was like, here you go, do what you want, which is cool. Super appreciative of that. If you're in that area, check out Retropalooza September 16th and 17th. Like I said, we will be there, and I'm like super happy that we will be there. So, yeah, that's kind of our convention schedule, I think, for the rest of the year. I'll be going to Vegas October for my yearly vacation. We're going to go to the Emo Music Festival, which we really like. Let's see, what is going on with the bar? So the bar is chugging along. Finally started to slow down a little bit now that kids are going back to school, or everybody's going back to school. So it's it's the bar is busy all the time. Yeah, so B-Ferg in the chat. Yeah, like MCR. I don't know who's playing this year. It's When We Were Young. It happened last year. And our day got basically canceled because of the wind. So that was that. But yeah, When We Were Young is the festival we're going to. Audio listeners, B-Ferg on the Twitch chat is asking what music festival I was referring to. And it's the When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada. But yeah, so the bar's a little slow this week, which is good, to be honest, because we needed to do some repairs and some maintenance, and the girls needed a break. Jess has been helping a lot clean the pinballs now, or not just clean, but help fix them too. She started learning a few weeks ago. She's doing a really good job taking care of them. Leah, the other person that was helping me, unfortunately had to move, so we're getting in there and doing some maintenance. Right now, as always, pinball is my biggest enemy. We have 7 machines on the floor, and every single day one of them has a problem. And the bar is also a big facet of Really Rad Weekend because we host pre-parties there, and everybody kind of goes there to drink and hang out and play games in between convention stuff. So I like to have everything in the best shape possible, even if I can't get it all running. So our pinballs get more play than most places because we are a free play arcade. So if you lose a game or you want to restart, you just hit that button and you go again. And there is no running out of quarters. So where some arcades, their pinball machine might get like 200 plays a week, ours get like 200 plays a night sometimes. And it's really tough to keep up with them. So the consumable products go really quick, like rubber bands and all that stuff. So I actually use a brand of bands called Super Bands, and they're like silicone, and they're a little bit tougher, so they don't degrade and wear down as easily. So on the flippers, those are great, unless the flipper is a third flipper, kind of at the top of the playfield, so the ball goes up and hits it, and then it starts taking chunks of that rubber out. But this week, it looks like I needed to replace a bunch of those. I have a High Speed by Williams, which is a very popular game, and it's kind of like it's got a bunch of power issues, and I ordered new boards for it, so I'm going to replace the power board. I already replaced the flipper board, and then get in there and check the wiring and all the fuses again to see if we can get that going, because that game's really fun and it's a good classic pinball. I've got to do the pop bumpers on Guardians of the Galaxy, which is annoying. They've started to I think some screws fell out, so they're starting to drop, and it doesn't give enough support to really pop the ball out like it needs to. That's a big one. I need to replace the monitor chassis in our Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 machine, but it's a Namco cab that's really odd, and so it's hard to get to the chassis itself to pull it out and put the new caps in it. What else? Windjammers, the vertical IC is jacked, so it has a lot of vertical collapse until it warms up, and then it gets good. I need to check the wiring on turbo because it's doing some funky stuff. I'm going to clean the Pump It Up pads and whatever just to get that refurbed and going, because we've got some dancing maniacs out there, and they are very particular about their machines. So lots and lots of maintenance. The other thing I'm trying to do is get our Initial D completely refurbed. I want card readers working, which I have 2 new ones that I haven't had a chance to install. So you can save your data and progress on the Initial D arcade machine via a card system, which we have a bunch of the cards too. And then the seat sliders, there's basically a hook that's operated by a spring that stops the seat from moving, and the nub's worn down on the hook so the seats move. It's just all jacked, and it's one of those things where it requires 2 full days to get in there and diagnose, and then 2 more days to fix. And it's tough to do when you're so busy. So this all goes back to that little lull that we're having, and it's great that we get a little bit of a break. So it's I'm very, very appreciative of that. We've also been running a lot of tournaments at the bar. I think the next one is Street Fighter 6 and then Mortal Kombat 1. We do those on Sundays, and the tournament's been going great. We've had Tony, he's been running our tournaments, and Tall Tony, and it's one of those things where he's so charismatic that it makes the whole thing good, and we're finally getting people that understand that we aren't just there for super high-level competitive play, so that way casual people can just walk in and play too and not feel like they're going to get slaughtered right out of the gate, which I love. So yeah, that's cool. Tomorrow we've got a rad food truck. It's called Pie Faced, and they used to own a brewery that was in town, and something happened with that. But now they sling pizzas out of a truck, and it is some of the best freaking pizza I've ever had. And I believe they will be there tomorrow from 6 until about 10, 6 until 9, something like that. So if you're in the area and you're hungry tomorrow, head to the bar and get Pie Faced, because I can't suggest them enough for pizza. So yeah, that's bar stuff. What else is going on? So, another thing in the shop, we've had a small leak in the roof that's progressively gotten worse. And if you've never dealt with leaks in roofs, it is not an easy task to fix, especially when you can't just climb up there and do it yourself. So I got with our landlord and our maintenance guy, and I think they're going to have that done hopefully tomorrow. I know they were working on it today. And it's just really like sketch when you walk into your store and you see like half a gallon of water on the floor. Thankfully, it's near original Xbox games, which I'm kidding. I love original Xbox. I don't want it near anything. But it's still like freaky because you're like, oh man, all these games are going to get ruined and then no one's going to want to get them because they're going to get all wavy. Um, yeah. So was dealing with that today. Really need to clean out the back room too. I started bringing some stuff home that I had stashed, and it's like toys and like random Game Boy games and just all this stuff. And I'm like, why do I have this? I need to sell it all, sell the whole collection. Let's see. And yeah, Beefwork in the chat says we're going into rainy season. Yeah, we definitely are. I agree. It's gonna be rough. So after episode 0, that we will, after this episode, no longer refer to or reference, and I might delete its existence from the internet completely. I took some questions from some people on Twitter and on now on Blue Sky, which if you're on Twitter or X or whatever, I'm at Joe Alonzo. I think Joe A. Alonzo. And I'm on Blue Sky as well. Those are the best places to follow me. That's where I do my most open video game talking. But we got some questions. So got a question from Press the Buttons over on Twitter about, have there been customers who thought their trades were worth gold? And this is kind of funny because you know all those articles that are like, hey, your old toys are worth $1 billion. We actually get a lot of those people that think that they are. And there was a point where someone came in who was newer to collecting, you could tell, and based on their previous purchases and just, all that jazz, they just bought an N64. And I don't remember if they bought the N64 from us or from like Marketplace, but they had some games and they wanted to trade them in towards other games. And so the guy brings in this stack, and there were some good titles, some like Mario's and Smash and stuff like that. And I give them a number, which I can't remember. For argument's sake, we'll call it $100. And he was like offended, and I couldn't figure out why, because I was transparent with him about our trade values and how we pay X versus Y, condition and all that. Just because we like to be that way. I don't want anybody to be surprised, and I want everybody to leave with a smile on their face, even if we don't come to a deal. So, the guy is like, well, this game's worth $500. And I swear to you, I'm not even kidding, the game he pulls out is Superman 64. Arguably the worst game on the, in the world. One of the worst games. You can barely complete the first level, and if you can, it doesn't make sense. So, I was like, what are you? No, man, we sell this game for like $10. Like, it's notoriously bad, and it's only $10 because people want it for the novelty of saying it's bad. And it was interesting because he was like, well, look at this. And it was one of those articles or something, or a troll post where somebody was just like, Superman on N64 is worth $500 now. And I had to explain it, and then I think he understood. But he did not take the deal, which was odd after I explained it. So I'm sure, that ended up somewhere else, or maybe that guy thinks he has $500 Superman on his shelf somewhere. So yeah, it's just like ET on the Atari 2600. Molly has one in the case right now just to get people. So we keep all of our games that are $20 and up in the glass display cases. That way they can kind of like be a little bit safer. And so she shoved a copy of ET in there, which ET is, I think we charge $1 for it, maybe $2, maybe $5 for a really nice copy. So she has it in the case, and people are like, oh yeah, that's worth a bunch of money. It was buried in the desert. And then they ask how much, and she tells them, and they're mind blown. And then they don't buy it, which is funny. Let's see. What else do we have from the questions? So if you guys want to submit questions, Best thing to do is email me at info@radjunk.com. Put a podcast question in the subject line, and I'll look for them. Or via Twitter to @RadJunk. That works too. With the hashtag like podcast question or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So we have another question from @94 best year ever. And they ask, has anyone attempted to sell broken things to the store? And this is a great question because this actually happens more often than you would think. However, it is not always malicious or with ill intent. And I really hope the squeaking in my chair does not come through on this. It's driving me nuts. Stupid racer chair. So a lot of times people bring stuff in to trade in or to sell, and they're like, oh, yeah. I played that last week or however long. And even when they're telling the truth, some of these consoles, like Wii consoles, there's something else recent, gamecubes are a good example. The lasers in them die constantly. PS2s as well. And so sometimes people will bring something in and you gotta, break their heart, be like, hey, the laser's dead. This thing doesn't play games. I'm trying to think of like some bad ones that we've had. Worse than like the broken stuff is more so people trying to sell us things that have like live bugs in them, whether it be roaches or spiders or whatever. Because it's always fun when somebody plops a GameCube down on your counter and asks how much you'll give them for it, and you have to say nothing because it literally like lifts up and then like crawls away from you. That stuff like that's happened, and but they act like it's completely normal and they continue to ask you if you're gonna buy it, and you have to be like, no, I'm not. No. We have had some instances though where, and this happens with repro games as well, and less now than it was back in the day when people thought they were being slick. And so we'll have somebody buy something, and then they will come back, and this is part of the reason why we don't do cash refunds. We only do exchanges. They'll bring something back that is the same item, but not the one that you sold them. So one time Sam had somebody buying some Pokemon games, and they got Ruby and Emerald, and they came back and tried to return one of them saying that they already had it. And they were very quick to be very okay with whatever was going on at the time. And then Sam noticed after the fact that they had returned a repro Pokemon game because she was busy and just did not check the board. And it happens. That's the reality of owning a game store. It's the reality of working at even a GameStop now. People are going to try and like pull one over on you. We had one person buy a Super Nintendo, and they returned the Super Nintendo saying that it didn't work. And typically if we sell a console, there's no corrosion around the like ports, the cartridge ports and all that. And we looked down and this thing was like wrecked, like just bad. But it very well, like the exterior looked fine, but as we took the shell off, it was like in terrible shape. Solder joints were broken, things like that. And what the person had done is they had taken the guts from another SNES or maybe just the bottom and returned it with the other part and swapped it out for something else. And I didn't catch that one, but we've got a deterrent against that now, and it is foolproof. I won't reveal it, but it works, and it's kept some stuff in check. And that's people are being jerks now, where they're just like, they think that stores in any capacity are the enemies, and they want to try and exploit them and commit retail arbitrage and whatever. We just want you to play games. I'm just trying to provide a service where we sell games, and then make enough money to put diapers on my kid. But overall, I just want people to play games or collect games or whatever. So I promise the game store is not the enemy. And when you see prices going up, don't forget we had to pay that. We had to pay up to buy those things, and then to also, make a little bit of money on top for operating costs. Because without that, game stores wouldn't exist. And in a world where game stores don't exist, it's a sad day. Even with the game stores that I am not a fan of, like, I need game stores to exist. So that's people trying to return broken stuff or sell us broken stuff. That reminds me, I forgot. There's a PS2 in our second back room, which is closer to the outside, and it is in a garbage bag, double bagged, tied up right now. Sam took in this PS5 and paid a good amount of money for it. And the funny thing is, she noticed after the person left, it was full of roaches. So the PS5 has a cooling duct that is relatively wide, actually. And I don't know what the entry point is, but I mean, this thing is packed. So that's going to be a terrible, terrible one to take apart. I need to talk to my exterminator for both businesses. I have a bug guy. His name's Bobby the Bug Man. It's great. He does fantastic work. But I need to figure out if there's some way to, like, not harm electronics and, like, put them in, like, a box and fumigate them or something to get rid of all that crap, because that is the worst. I will take a dirty console over a roach-infested console any day of the week. So, yeah, that's the broken stuff. We even buy some of it, apparently. All right, let's see. We got another question from 94, best year ever. Talk about marketing cohesion / promotion between businesses. I don't really know how to tackle this one. So I market the way that I know how to market, and that is just to try and connect and make marketing that I know would appeal to me, and hopefully it appeals to other people. It's really, the cohesiveness comes naturally when you have brands that are all intertwined in some regard, and not just the name, but also the realm and genre of the business itself. So you kind of notice that in retro game collecting, that kind of goes hand in hand, obviously with an arcade, but also with a bar, because a lot of people my age or a little bit younger or a little bit older like to go to bars. We all like craft beer. And even if those of us that don't drink, we can play some arcade games. So making that step from from RadJunk to Rad Bar was natural. And then Really Rad Weekend is the culmination of both of those things. And we learned a lot when it was Emerald Coast Con on how to market and how to make things vibrant in a way that it catches people's eye. We're trying to do it a little bit more low key this time, since it is a more laid back convention. However, when you have Rad Bar and Rad Junk, and then you're like, hey, come to the beach and drink and hang out and do video game stuff, it all just kind of triangulates. And so we try to focus on where our strengths are. So like with the shop, we get trades every day. So every day for our social post, if, we don't have something else to post about, we post all of the trades we got in that week or the previous day or the previous time that we can put trades out. And so it gives everybody a chance to kind of claim stuff and get a preview of what they're walking into before they get to the store to see what new inventory comes in. And so for the shop, that very easily comes from a marketing perspective from things that we already do when we take pictures of what comes in. So there's that. And then the bar, it's literally the same thing. So except with beer, we get new beer every Thursday. We get between 5 and 10 new drinks that we rotate into our menu. And so throughout the week, we then post a singular photo of the atmosphere of the bar, highlighting one of those new beers or drinks in an appealing way where it kind of catches people's eye, and it almost adds a little bit of, like, not so much mystery, but intrigue about the bar, because you can see the games in the background and the colored lights and all that jazz. And that really helps try to draw people in, because then they're like, oh man, an arcade, no, that beer looks cool, because we order some funky stuff. Sometimes it's got like zombies on the can, whatever, dogs, I don't know, stuff, funky beer stuff. And then Really Rad Weekend, we've got a guest list that's awesome. So, then we've got $1,000 cosplay contest. We've got $1,000 Smash Brothers tournament. So that, once again, comes pretty naturally overall to the whole event. And from a marketing standpoint, which is what the question was, all of that ties together. And the biggest thing that I can suggest to anybody trying to market on the internet, not that I'm some wizard or anything like that, from my experience, if you take a really good photo, even if that photo is with your cell phone, and then your entire feed and grid is kind of cohesive in its own sense, where it's, the same style of lighting or a similar shot, and it's just very aesthetically pleasing, that helps a lot. So that's kind of how everything markets and ties together, and how we approach it. Now, how other people approach it, it may be completely different. I don't know what our conversion metrics are, and all that. So, we can get into some real data points at some point, and maybe that's some like video game business stuff that we will touch on. So we'll get into that probably in a future episode, at least a little bit. That does it for the questions, but that last question and talking about other things reminded me. So one thing that I want to do is kind of like a market report. We won't do like a crazy one on this episode, but I want to talk about games that seem to be, rising stars in like popularity and prices and whatnot throughout the. By the way, I say whatnot a lot, and I don't mean the streaming service. That has just been part of my vernacular for years, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not a whatnot shill. Although, like, I know Joe over there, and I know a bunch of my friends do well on it, and great for them. It's a cool platform. Check it out, but I'm not referencing that when I talk, and I hate that I say it so much. But basically, the market fluctuates so much and so often, it's crazier than the stock market. So you'll see games get popular that were in like the $20 range, that then go up to like 60, and then 100, and then 200, and whatever. And so that happens a lot as things happen, as things like progress in the scene. So notable things that I saw this week: Starshot, saw some deals. Starshot on N64. That game is rare, and snag it while it's cheap, because it's not going to be for long. What else did I see this week that I thought was crazy? It looks like PS2 games might be a good purchase right now. It looks like, it's a buyer's market right now. I won't lie. A lot of people are selling their stuff. There's lots of good deals to be had. I noticed some prices go down on some stuff. I was pricing out Darkstalkers long box on PS1 today. Looked a bit lower than it has been previously. Silent Hill games, which are always strong, look like they took a little dip, but it's a typical summer dip once again. I'm trying to think of stuff that's like going up. Super Bomberman today, I think it was just coincidental and just a fluke, but that game seemed to be oddly popular. AVGN just did a video last week, I believe, on A Boy and His Blob, which I have not watched. That might get some traction. I think that game's like $15, $10. Maybe we'll see it hit like 25. That could be cool. From a business perspective, that could be cool. As always, Game Boys are real hot this week. I had lots of questions about them. I'm starting to see more people, and I know this is part of it because of its backwards compatibility, but I'm starting to notice more people asking for Wiis than GameCubes. However, there's not always the overlap of people wanting to play GameCube games on their Wii consoles, and it's actually people wanting to play Wii games. So I think what's happening is that same, typical rotation, it's cyclical, where someone of a certain age finally has adult money, and they're like, I want to replay all these Wii games that I played when I was a kid. And it's wild. I sold my last Wii today, which I didn't think would happen. So yeah, lots of that, lots of Wii Sports, which is very popular at the bar too. So that's kind of wild. Wii's are climbing in popularity. Switches, even though there's a looming threat of the Switch 2, which hopefully is backwards compatible. We've been selling a lot of Switches. But Switch is interesting. So I've noticed over time that people will buy a Switch, they'll buy a stack of games. They will keep that Switch and that stack of games for like 6 months. They'll trade it in, and then they'll rebuy it later on. And I don't know if it's because they think that the games that they buy, because it's typically the people that come in and they buy like Mario Odyssey, Metroid, and like Animal Crossing, and maybe Mario Kart. It's like the big normal titles that everybody knows and wants to play, the popular stuff. And I think they just get this itch and they're like, all right, I want to play. They play all the games. And they're like, all right, I need to sell it. I want to get something else. And they're like, I need the Switch. So Nintendo did something right. There's some like, something there that keeps you hooked to it, but that's a funny one. Switches are pretty good. Always a need for Switch games and amiibos. So that's some cool stuff. That's kind of like your current market report. I'll give a better status update after I can sort my my council of video game elders, and we'll go from there. So this is the first real episode once again. I'm going to wrap it up in just a minute because we're about to hit that hour mark. I'm going to try to aim for an hour each week where I just talk about some random stuff. It'll be slightly more structured, but I need to get to that point, and I just wanted to get this first episode out there so I can go back, have the girls critique it, because I don't like listening to myself talk. I'm surprised if anybody likes listening to me talk. And this will be, I don't know if it'll be weekly. Maybe we'll do like 2 a month, and then we'll incorporate some other stuff into it as well as we go. But this is going to be distributed everywhere. And I don't know, maybe people want to hear about the business side of things. Maybe they just want to hear about game stuff. Maybe they want to hear about oddball stuff. Like today, I got a very rare Dreamcast. It's called a Tyson cable or a Versus cable. And it connects 2 Dreamcast consoles together so you can play them on separate TVs. And it's cool because it works with like Virtual On. Ontario Tangram, Ferrari F355 Challenge, and a few other games. So I want to check that out and kind of hook it up because I also have one for the original PS1. That could be cool. But yeah, I could talk about weird stuff like that. I do like to talk about trades that come in and situations at the shop. We're not going to get into any like crazy tales from the game store stuff just because like I like the majority of my customers. I love all my customers because they're my customers. But we do have some funny stories that maybe if I think of some safe ones, kind of like the people selling us stuff, I'll mention those. And that'll be good stuff from the shop. And then as far as the bar goes, I could tell some bar stories for sure. Which right now I sponsor a podcast called Extra Napkins. And it's 2 guys that it's food adjacent. I love it. It's probably my favorite podcast overall because they talk about food and cooking, and that's what I like to do. And there are a couple of goofballs, but I sponsor that podcast, and every week they do a bar story or a bar segment where they talk about stuff. So I've got a bunch. Having worked in bars and owning a bar, it's really funny when nerds drink, because you never know what's going to happen. It's not like the typical predictable. It's like, man, this could go a whole bunch of different ways, especially when they down some like 9% beers. So that could be something cool. And then Really Rad Weekend, we're going to have lots of stories from that. And then I also think that I'm going to kind of use this as my outlet, as my verbal filing cabinet of just talking about the con and the process of putting on a convention. Because I'll tell you, this sucks. Like, I love the convention. We do it for a good cause. But, oh, man, am I freaking out. Because there's a lot that goes into this. A lot of time and effort. Blood, sweat, and tears for real. and a lot of money. But really, Rad Weekend is my favorite thing to do, to be honest. But I've got Starfield downloading right now. I'm probably only going to play 2 hours of it, but because that's what I do. I play games for 2 hours, then put them down, and then never pick them back up. But I'm going to check that out because I like the idea of space exploration. I do have a backlog, so I haven't played most of these. We'll play through a lot of these, and then I have an entire garage full of games that I need to go through, which we'll talk about that at some point too. And I've got so many games I need to play, but I am so busy. Maybe we'll do some streams on Twitch again once, I get the computer over on that side of the room. And we'll just play like 10 minutes of certain games, like maybe NES games or shorter games, and just get a feel for them and go through that. And I'm going to talk about that. So, yeah, this is episode 1. I'm Joe Alonzo. I own RadJunk, Rad Bar, and Really Rad Weekend, your local video game store, arcade bar, and retro video game convention. It is August 31st. And I am going to wrap this one up right now. Later, everyone in the Twitch chat that's watching me live, I'm going to try and aim maybe for late Friday nights or Thursday nights to do this. And hopefully we can make it work. I have to escape while my son's asleep and get away to do these things. But thank you all for listening. This will be available on Apple Podcasts in an audio form, Spotify, if that's still a thing, Google Podcasts. Also, we were live on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/RadJunk, and it will be uploaded to youtube.com/RadJunk. So until next time, everyone, please stay safe, stay rad, and we will catch you later.